Reince Priebus is now facing criticism after reports that he attempted to pressure the FBI earlier this month, I believe on February 15th, to speak out against stories that the White House was not a fan of, that they found to be damaging. According to White House officials, Priebus spoke one-on-one with FBI Assistant Director Andrew McCabe on the morning of February 15th, when McCabe told Priebus that the story, this is about connections between the Trump administration and Russian officials, including intelligence officials, wasn't accurate. According to the officials, Priebus asked, "What can we do about this?" McCabe said he'd get back to him, according to the White House account. Later, McCabe called Priebus to say the FBI couldn't comment in that way. Comey then called Priebus to say the same, according to the officials. Asked about whether Priebus broke any rules in doing this, White House spokesman Michael Short said, "Your questions lack any basic knowledge about the issues at hand." Short said there was no discussion of any investigation, just the inaccuracy of the New York Times story, which is the story that the FBI is investigating.
Exactly.
So that's an odd way of
framing
that.
Don't you think, though, that they already should be thankful enough for helping the FBI getting them elected? Like, they're asking a lot. The FBI did enough to already beat Hillary. Now they got to intervene in real time as well.
That's right. It's right. You got to know when you've asked for enough favors.
It's just yeah.
I don't know, man. Because the note. What's left out of that is, of course, what McCabe told Priebus. I mean, according to Priebus, it's just that the story was wrong. Like this conversation. Oh, so it was I guess it was a half a second conversation.
Does Priebus kind of remind you guys of the William H. Macy character in Fargo? Just kind of like this sad, frustrated Midwestern guy.
Did you see yesterday at the first day of how often do they have CPAC? There's no way it's been a year.
It feels
we say
like it's
this every year.
3.5 months.
So Bannon and Priebus were talking, and it was super
we're going to do that later on.
The hand?
Yeah, we're going to do it.
Okay.
What?
But so obviously this is a big issue because the Russia story, which people refer to as one story, when it's like 12 distinct stories, of which any hacking during the election is like the 5th most interesting one. But people always group it into one thing for some reason. It's such a non-story that we find out in just one day that they've tried to pressure the FBI to deny it, and they've banned reporters for reporting on it. That's how not a story it is. But anyway, this is actually potentially a problem for Priebus. I don't expect that Trump is going to discipline him, but there are a variety of rules that are supposed to stop this sort of interference with investigations. Under Obama, White House staff were forbidden from contacting any agency or department about the merits of specific matters involving specific parties, including investigations, litigation, and enforcement actions. All communications with the Justice Department, whether about a specific matter or not, were routed through the Attorney General or his or her deputy. Now, it might be the case that Reince Priebus feels as uncomfortable talking with the current Attorney General as any rational person would, but he was still supposed to do that. In addition to the policy restricting contacts by White House staff, the Justice Department has for 4 decades restricted its officials, including the FBI, discussing specific cases with the White House. And there's a memo from 2009 about this. It was signed by Eric Holder saying, "The rule of law depends upon the even-handed administration of justice. The legal judgments of the Department of Justice must be impartial and insulated from political influence." A Justice Department spokesman said the Holder policy is still in effect. Every administration since Jimmy Carter's has had some version of the rule.
Yeah.
Besides which, it's obvious. Right. So if the FBI is charged with investigating you, it's a little problematic for you to call them and say, "Hey, can you make a statement saying you're not investigating us?"
Yeah.
We went ballistic when Bill Clinton, the right went ballistic. We went ballistic because it was so bad politically when Bill Clinton met with Loretta Lynch on the tarmac in Phoenix.
Yeah.
Oh, that was terrible.
Hey,
yeah.
Loretta,
Imagine if Hillary Clinton had done this.
Neither of them were in the administration. I mean, there's no question that was not a crime. That was just a suggestion of political influence.
Bill and Hillary Clinton were not.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
obviously Loretta Lynch was. And so in this case, it's actually the president's chief of staff going to the FBI, and we don't know what Loretta Lynch and Bill Clinton talked about on the plane. In this case, we know what they talked about. He said, "Can you tell them that there's no investigation?" Which is as egregious as it could possibly be.
But I also think, the thing that I feel like you got to follow with these people is that they have an audience of one in many respects. Like when Kellyanne Conway did that Nordstrom thing, everybody was like, "This is crazy." Trump loved it. Trump's going to like this. And Priebus has his own battle with Bannon. There's their, internal dynamics in the administration. And I don't think Trump even necessarily right now, maybe it'll change if the press gets bad enough, has a problem with we're so tough, we'll call the FBI up.
he
You know, he
might
has an
well
audience
have
of
ordered
one.
it.
Yeah, he
It's
might have ordered
entirely
it.
possible.
He doesn't. I was talking to a friend of
doesn't
mine,
care.
a Republican today, because they, like
You're
they-
a Republican?
I have a friend who's a Republican who voted for Hillary, but but now he thinks that God, we all ought to calm down, stop yelling so much, let him have a chance, that sort of thing, and I just kept thinking, I'm like, dude, he's going to get arrested. People are going to get arrested. Like they don't have any, they don't get. He's going to
like
do it.
dumb
Trump's
Watergate.
Right? They
Yeah.
don't. It's going to be the easiest investigation ever because they're reckless in their disregard for the law. Because they don't know it and they don't care and they don't think it applies because they've decided it doesn't apply.
And so far, multiple people have just stepped down before it could get that far. But he's losing people every month.
Did you ever try to explain responsibility to a 12-year-old? And so for some 12-year-olds are awesome and they get it. And some are like, blah, what do I break next? And so Trump is at best a 12-year-old and not the reasonable kind. So, yeah, he doesn't understand the law, doesn't care to understand the law, never going to look into the law, never going to ask, hey, what's the law on this before he acts? So is he going to get himself in trouble with the law? Of course he is. If somebody tried to talk about him, hey, Mr. President, contacting the FBI about an investigation they're doing about you is deeply unethical. He'd be like, what do you mean? No, you just get him on the phone. He works for me.
It's the same way when you're
I'm the
working
president.
with the Gambino family and you're getting a contract and you're building a hotel. Same thing.
That's right.
That's
That's
like
right.
literally the same ethics process.
And they'll end up just using they'll use the John Yoo strategy, which will now work for every administration going forward. Just find anybody at the Justice Department to write a memo saying, well, if the president authorized a phone call for informational purposes, then it's legal.
And then he'll say there are many people saying it's legal.
Many people.
By the way, so I'm glad that you brought
People
that
are
up because
telling
Trump has a new ending to his tweets that I think is even more ridiculous than sad. In response to all these leaks in the FBI situation, he tweeted this: the FBI is totally unable to stop the national security leakers, which again, they are leakers. You don't have to put them in quotation marks, that have permeated our government for a long time. They can't even find the leakers within the FBI itself. Classified information is being given to media that could have a devastating effect on U.S. Find now.
It's funny. Go back to the first one if you could. Can you go back to the
Now.
first tweet? I thought that his thing was they can't even.
Like he's a teenager.
Like he's, they
like-
can't even.
They can't. Well, he does have a kind of weird,
Right.
keen
I
vibe
was
like
like-
that. But I think he's also, because the weird thing is he comes out and he goes, we need to get the leakers now, and this is fake news.
That's
So
right.
he also has to like if you're what are you leaking fake news? Like you got to square that circle
Yeah,
too. You know?
we've-
and
They've
he's
tried.
like,
Yeah,
these leakers are terrible. Leakers. No, wait. You think they're leakers.
My
Right?
father-
It's not even us.
They're more like
it's you.
story
Yes.
writers.
Well,
They make things
they
up.
are leakers.
My
They
dad
make
always
things
loved every menu, which menus are one of the biggest. They are constantly putting things in quotes that they mean to emphasize, but of course just means it's not. Try our extra flavorful chicken.
Animals are innocent.
TRTnetwork.com/join.